we're going to talk about document management. Also a very common theme. So here we're going to emulate a contract management group. And we'll come down here, and our contract management group, we work with a lot of suppliers, partners, customers where we have to establish these contracts. A lot of times we have to work together with them. And then we also have to support them from an operational perspective. So we've got a lot of different types of activities going on, but it all starts with we want consistent documentation to be created. That is a very important part of this. So our group works in our contract management channel. And a first aspect of, I see somebody asking, can you reverse the completion easily? The answer is yes. That can be configured within the automation tool so that an update in one location then is transferred out to the other location. So thanks for that question, John. In our files list, you'll notice we've got a number of suppliers or contracts for our customers that are out here. Typically, when you see files within Teams, you see the file name, the modified date, and modified by. Those are the three columns that if you go check your Teams right now, that's probably what you will see. Notice here I have added additional columns. Many people kind of don't pay too much attention to it, but in that Files tab, there is this Add Column option. So I can add things to help with categorization, search metadata, those types of things. In this particular instance, because they're contracts, they have legal implications. We need to have record retention policies applied to them. Using Office 365, I am able to create those, we call them labels, but it's really a retention policy. How long does this need to be kept? Where does this label need to be applied? Depending on your license level, the initial level is that you manually apply these labels. The more advanced licensing level automatically applies. So this one, we've got a retention label that automatically applies to them. So in order to kind of meet that need of we want consistent documentation, underneath our new button, you'll notice underneath the typical, I can just make any one of these typical files, I have templates that I have added into here. How did you do that, Mark? Well, that's a great question. I use the Add Template button right down here at the bottom. So our eyes are always drawn to the first thing we need. So highly encouraged, scroll on down. I could also edit this if I wanted to remove the options to just make, any old Word document. I only want to use specific templates, make those what appears here. So for this, let's make a client intake form. So I'll click my template. We'll give this a name. And we will create it. So now this, I have it configured really to open up Microsoft Word here on purpose. And so as this opens, now we say, oh, good, I've got my template already set. I've even got a few fields filled in this template. So I can just go through, I can, add specific detail throughout my form, wherever that goes. But now notice up top, I've got this little yellow warning banner that required properties need to be corrected. So Word gives me this button. These properties, these are part of the required properties that I set in those columns back in our Files tab. So we're going to create this as a contract. Notice we have a phase. I've got, approved, not approved, but we'll just set it as initiated. I'm not the approver, so I won't fill this out, but we do want to put the industry in here as a food service industry. So now we've done, let's retry our save. Apologies for that. Using a demo environment with different accounts on my laptop. So great, we've got our customer intake is out here. Oh, we did the Contoso one. Notice it doesn't quite show yet the required info that I filled in, but in a moment that will just automatically be there once it refreshes. Now, again, I've received an approval. So we know there's a new contract that's come in. It's in draft form, needs to be reviewed and approved. I can click to review it, add comments, And we'll just go ahead, we'll approve this quickly. And so now I can go back in Teams, and we look at Contoso cheesecake intake, and notice these did auto fill in once they were collected, but I also see the approvals. So now this is very important as knowing who approved and when. I mean, this can even come back from an audit perspective. You need to have this information. It needs to be producible in a right context. An additional feature that's really been here for quite a while, I just wanted to show everyone, version control. So version control is your friend. Our group is working on these documents. Oh man, somebody deleted key information from my doc, spreadsheet, PowerPoint. Doesn't matter. I come in and, oh man, how do I get this back? And it can be a lot of rework to get that back. Leveraging version control, and I'll show where to find it. So if you're in Word, if you do File, Info, you'll find version history. I'm not going to click on that. Instead, I want to show how up here in our search box, I can also just start typing a command or function that I want to perform. If I'm doing it correctly, it pops right up, and then we'll look at our version history. So here we see all the versions since it was created. I see who's modified it, when it was modified it. And if I just go back to, I'll do the open version here on this one from August 11. I get a previous version. You'll notice, oh, here's my data. If it's just a little bit of data, I can copy and paste from one document to the other. If it's something more severe, I can compare, or even maybe I just need to restore this one to be the current version again. So the next time someone opens it, this is what they see. That's how version history is your friend and can avoid a lot of rework. Now, I just mentioned how we collaborate on documents. So let's take a look. If we're going to collaborate, and in this instance, we've got our group that's doing contracts, but we need to work with external entities. So we've got, might be a customer, supplier, whoever that is. For a long time, Teams has allowed guest access, but that guest access is at a team level. So they see everything in a team, not necessarily appropriate to have them seeing the contract information for a bunch of other customers that they're not privy to. So a new function that has recently come out is called shared channels. So what I can do in my team, once this is enabled within the organization, is I can, when I add channels, I can select a shared channel. The shared channel means only people that are part of that shared channel can see what's in it. So when I come over in here, now I'm working with this home health group. And you'll notice I've got Alex Wilbur, AKA Vasu, who will be presenting here in a moment. He's logged in. He's over in California. I'm in Chicago. We're working on a spreadsheet as part of this deal that we're putting together. So he and I are both going to come in here, and let's just, instead of going all the way into Excel, we'll do it right here in Teams. Works both ways, or even in my browser. And hopefully Vasu's in there, and he and I are going to literally work on this together at the same time. So you'll notice right down here, even though my mouse isn't moving, it says AW, aka Alex Wilbur, is in, and you can see he's doing activity in this spreadsheet, as am I. I can come over here, let me put in some functions, and what's happening is we're both seeing in near real time what the other is doing as we work together on this document. It also lets me know up here that Alex Wilbur is in here. It even tells me which cell that he is editing at this point in time. So this is how we can work together. I still have, say, the version control. I could do that from here within Excel as well, just like we just did in Word. And so this is how we can work together far more efficiently than the old-fashioned way of, hey, let's make this spreadsheet, email it around to a group, save it with different version numbers. They send it all back. We got to collate, then we got to store it. And then we hope the next time we make a decision, we're using the current information. No, make that go away. We can all do this from one spot right here. So now, in addition to, hey, we've done all this contract work, we're collaborating externally, We're keeping our record management folks happy with the right labeling, our process is going well. We also have to create a lot of operational documents now to support these customers for these contracts that we've landed. So our operations group, they work over here in this particular team, and then we can see how they've got their support documentation is out here. And this one kind of in a list format is how it's set up. We've got lots of options for how we could actually organize the support documentation, but we've got a few kind of key things that are here. And I can go in and let's say there's a pig farm that is we're supporting through a contract. I scroll on down and now I can include each one of the documents that are specific to that customer right here within that. So now it's kind of that same list approach that we've seen before. So one way that we can go in to do that. But now let's take this a step further, because this list grows and grows and grows for who our customers are, what our support documentation is, how do we find this stuff, how do we do it? A lot of IT groups would say, hey, use our ServiceNow or one of our, idle management platforms. True, but that doesn't apply to all groups with all these types of functions. So now maybe we want to make this a little bit easier for the groups that are supporting it. And I'll go back here and I've created an application. It could be in either one of the channels, but we'll turn this into an operational support. So within here, I've got buttons for a few different things. So I can look at operations just in general, where I can come in and I can filter to different types of documents that are out here. We don't have too many, so I'll just look at the options. And then as I see this, I can look, here's that same pig farm support. I can come down, I can edit any of the details that are part of it, as well as access that documentation. So that's one way that I can find that. Or if I go back to my home page, now let's say, okay, we have a group. We're going to divide up our forces so that we can provide more focused concierge level service to the food groups or the farm groups or whatever types that we are actually supporting. So I can come in here and I can have an application where, okay, here's my support documentation, allows me to do a search. I start typing donut, I get donut. I can then drill into that as well to get to all that information. So hopefully we're starting to see from a document management perspective, we've got quite a few options, as well as that translates from initial documents out to operational services, where I can leverage not only the tools and some of the data, but then I can start to build new interfaces that then streamline that even more, so that from a workforce perspective, and we deal with burnout, we deal with overwork, the more we can alleviate friction, reduce stress, the better off we are. These are just a few ways where we can do that from within the Office 365 ecosystem.